Thank you for joining us on Lessons in Leadership, episode 9. Today with me, I have Nolan Merritt, and this is an interesting young man. I can't wait to share his story with you. And the way that Nolan and I met was I stalked him in my neighborhood. That's fair, wouldn't you
Yeah,
say, Nolan?
yeah, I'd say so.
So, Nolan owns a landscaping business in our area here in Michigan. And the way that I found out about Nolan was Nolan would go around the neighborhood with his mower and cut people's grass. And then the next summer, he had a bigger mower. And then the next summer, he had a mower with a trailer. And now he's got a truck with a big trailer, multiple devices, weed whackers, and employees. So, Nolan, thank you for joining me and letting me stalk you on this. I think you're going to have some great insights just in your story and in leadership for being such a young man. Because I know you're over 18, but I don't think you're 21 yet, are you?
Nope, not yet. Not 21.
So, tell us what year you graduated high school.
Yeah, for sure. So I appreciate having me on the show. And yeah, I actually just graduated this past spring. So this summer was my first summer out of high school. And yeah, so this is kind of my first year without having to worry about high school and all that stuff with the business and everything. So definitely a learning curve, but yeah, it's been fun. So
Yes, and that's what I think makes your story so unique is that you are a first year out of high school and doing things that usually people 5, 10, 15 years older than you are just starting for the first time. So
Mhm.
walk us back in time. I know a lot of people have seen a little promo video that you sent me and that I put out about when you
Yep.
started. So how old were you when you started cutting people's lawns, and what started that whole process for you?
Yeah, so Uh, the company has been a company, Merritt Landscaping. We've been in business for 2 years, but I've been mowing lawns in the neighborhood since I was 9 years old. So, growing up, I mean, I was always, as a kid, sent outside to play, go have fun, go run
Yep.
the neighborhood, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, so when I was 9, I don't know, I can kind of give credit to my dad. He always had the night, or everyone said he had the nicest lawn in the neighborhood, and we always cut the grass every 3, 4 days. And ever since I was little, I mean, construction equipment, mowers, tractors always seemed to, they're always interested in me. And so growing up, kind of, I would always be that kid watching all the companies in the neighborhood cut the grass and how they did it. And then when I was 9, um, my neighbor, they had a company doing their work and they needed some landscaping. And I was just sitting in the front lawn hearing them talk about it, how they're going to hire this company. And I go, hey, I'll do it. I go, next 3 days, I go, I can do it for you. You come back from vacation because they're going on vacation for 3 days. I go, it'll be done and it'll look like a new landscaping. And that was kind of how we got our first lawn. And then we started mowing the grass for them and then slowly grew from one customer to two customers to kind of taking a whole bunch in that neighborhood. And then, yeah, slowly
So
just,
9 years old, what grade were you in as a 9 year old?
I think I was fourth grade.
Fourth grade. So there's a fourth grade
Hmm.
kid. So give us some details about what this first landscape job was that took you 3 days to do.
Yeah. So it was looking back, it probably is the reason I hate weeding so much, but it was a train wreck. I mean, they didn't touch it for probably 2 years. So
Oh
it
my
was a
God.
rock landscaping and literally every inch was covered in weeds. So it was just 3 straight days of weeding
Oh my
from
gosh.
7 in the morning till 4 o'clock at night. And the funny part is I was so young, I didn't even know what to charge. So when they sent me a thing, I said, just give me what you think it was worth. And I ended up making, I think it was $345. I
Well,
still
I mean,
have the
that's three
little,
hard days of work. So,
yeah. So looking back now, I'm like, I was such an idiot for charging only that much. But I mean, getting started somewhere it worked. But yeah,
yeah.
it was 3 full days of that. And then we trimmed like 2 or 3 bushes. And yeah,
Now,
that
did
was
you
how it
have
all
anybody
started.
helping you with this? Did your dad kind of say, "All right, here, I'm going to show you the ropes," or or was this like a solo project for you, 100%?
No, my dad did help me a little bit. Just kind of because I would get to 2 o'clock and I would be exhausted. He's like, "You said you're going to do it, so you got to finish it." But yeah,
That's great.
so yeah, it was long days, but yeah, great starting. Something that we'll always look back on. So yeah.
So I'm just thinking through this. So you're a fourth grade kid who's doing all this weeding. When did you start to think about like, hey, maybe I could turn this into a business?
Hmm. For sure. So yeah, I mean, always since I was little, like I said, I love the equipment. And my mindset was always, I'll go work for one of these big companies and just mow grass. And then I started kind of doing it on the side. But as you know, both my parents being teachers, they're like, no, you got to go to college and do all this
Hmm.
stuff. And so then I was like, okay, I'll just keep working for someone. And maybe by the time eventually I graduate and go to college for 4 years or however many years, I could start something after that. And then really, I give credit to COVID. Really,
Mm,
before COVID, I didn't really ever see it as being like, it was something I always was interested in. But kind of just the day and age before COVID, it was always like, yeah, I'm just going to go to college. And then after college, I'll kind of start it. And then during that 3 month shutdown, um, after we got the okay to go, I mean, I kind of just went out and was doing my thing. And then everybody was home and everyone kind of saw me doing what we were doing. And then it really just took off from there. And I really kind of went into it and had some buddies that are like, you should just go full time with it and try to run with it. And then I met some guys during that because I mean, we had 3 months off of school.
right.
I loved it. It was the spring. I could work as much as I want,
Right.
not have any homework. And so, yeah, they were like, you should really just, yeah, try to go full time. And I met some guys and they started giving me work. And when they were full, they'd send my name. And then yeah, I was like, we're gonna make this a go. And yeah, that was kind of where the turn of being an employee, just wanting to do it for fun, to making it my own thing kind of started. So,
Yeah. Now, I'm thinking back to myself as a 9 year
hmm
old fourth grader, and I had to cut my own grass, and my folks
hmm
paid me, whatever it was, probably 5, $10 for cutting our grass. And I
hmm
remember as a fourth grader, 9 year old, the last thing I wanted to do was cut more grass. I wanted to go play
hmm
football with my buddies or go play army in the woods or
Yep.
something like that. So was that your mindset as well when you said you were interested in construction equipment and that stuff? Were you
Uh-huh.
like, man, I'd rather go do the work than go play with my friends?
Yeah, to a certain point. I love, we kind of grew up in a neighborhood. We played wiffle ball, that kind of stuff all the time. But as they kind of got older and I got older, a lot of them ventured into the video game thing.
Hmm.
And that was just something I personally have never played a video game, never owned a video game, don't even know how to run an
Wow.
Xbox
Hold on.
controller in my
Stop
life.
the interview right now. I want everybody who just heard this to write that down.
Hmm.
That's very
Yeah.
rare. That's very
Yeah.
rare.
hmm Yeah. So growing up, I mean, I don't even know how to run all those controllers or anything. Could not tell you a single thing. And so that was kind of looking back, kind of the separation where I was like, all right, well, they're doing that. I'm gonna go and make this money.
Mm,
And then slowly I just really fell in love with it and kept going with it. And yeah.
that's awesome. So where did that
hmm
work ethic come from? Is that just something that's always been inside of you, or is that something that came from your parents, your family? Where did that come from?
Yeah, I feel like it was always kind of a part of me, but it was a lot of credit to probably my parents. Um, when starting and stuff, they're like, listen, if you want this stuff, you can get it, but you're gonna have to pay for it. Like it it's talking everything really, financials, new
Hmm.
equipment. Yeah, I mean, I was the one that wanted to go out and buy a brand new shiny mower with one lawn, and then they're the kind of the ones where like you got to build up and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, growing up, ever since I was little, my grandpa and grandma have a house with this big old exotic landscaping. And since then, it's kind of downsized just as they've gotten older and less time to take care of it. But I was always out there doing leaves, doing all sorts of stuff, cutting down trees. I mean, yeah, so it's kind of always been something.
Yeah.
And yeah, really, it goes back to the love of the machines. I mean, that was kind of where I started using them. And then I was like, if you put a little bit of work into it, then you can buy those fun things. And that was
Yeah.
kind of how I saw it. So,
So, going back to the COVID time, what equipment did you have when we were shut down? You were at home and you were able to
hmm
like, hey man, I can go pound this every day if I want to. What equipment did you
yeah.
start with?
So I started with um the fall before COVID, I had just purchased just a homeowner Toro zero turn.
Hmm.
I had a Honda tractor from my great grandpa who moved to a nursing home, and we lasted one season and we blew it up because the engine literally seized because we just ran it 24/7.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I bought that. And I had a little yard cart trailer that we pulled behind with a backpack blower and two trimmers and
I remember that going down the street. I'm like,
hmm
man, look at this kid going past my house. I got to give
Yep.
him props.
hmm And yeah, that was kind of where it all started, me and my sister. So
I remember her
hmm
riding in the back of the trailer.
Yeah, she had a 5 gallon bucket she would sit on and we'd go cruising through the neighborhood. So
Yeah. So at that point, when you're trailing your sister behind you, how
hmm
many clients did you have at that point?
that point we had, I want to say 5 to 6, I think, full-time lawns. And we were doing a lot of just kind of odds and end jobs during that,
Hmm.
just because kind of COVID, everyone was home and they're like, oh, we could have this bush trimmed and that kind of stuff. So
Right. And so I'm
yeah.
guessing that probably all had to be in the neighborhood by where you lived, right? Because you were driving
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
You weren't
hmm
like picking up any accounts in, Holland or
No,
Kalamazoo.
I wanted to, but mom and dad were like, no, we're not driving you that far and having a commitment. So
That's true because then your commitment
hmm
becomes their commitment.
hmm
Yeah. So I remember when I first saw you coming down the street with your truck and your trailer, was that your next big bump up in equipment purchase?
Yeah, so the year I got my license, I actually didn't buy a truck right away just because I was super picky and wanted the nice truck that would look good when we're pulling things. So yeah, that was when I drove my dad's car for that summer. And then I bought a truck that following fall and kind of yeah, upgraded to the trailer and all that. And then yeah, I kind of expanded to anywhere around town now. So
Okay. Yeah, that's great.
mhm,
So now I'm gonna kind of switch mindset into
mhm.
entrepreneur mode and business owner. Do you have any accrued debt on your equipment, truck, trailer, equipment stuff, or were you able to build that up so you were able to pay cash for that stuff?
Only thing right now we have a loan on is the truck. It's weird. So when you get a new business and whatever, they don't technically give you loans for the first 2 years
Right.
until you have enough credit. So we're trying to figure out this whole thing of building credit.
Hmm.
And so then down the road, we can do stuff. So the truck is on a loan, but if we wanted to, we could turn around and pay it off right now.
Gotcha.
So that'd be the
Gotcha.
only thing we have a loan out. But everything else is cash flowed, mowers, blowers, trimmers. I mean, in my mind, with the industry we're in, especially maybe not in bigger companies, but the place I'm at, it's too much of a gamble just
Mm,
because if something breaks, then you're making payments on broken equipment. And
right.
it
Right.
doesn't seem like a smart decision long term for me.
Yeah.
So,
So being interested in that type of equipment since you were young, do you
hmm
have the skills and ability to like fix it yourself? Did you do any small engine repair classes, or do you have to then take that if it breaks and take it to a mechanic who can fix it?
Yeah, so I never took any classes. I really just found out trial and error. We started just kind of, we would always take our mowers and stuff in when I was super young. But I mean, really, when we broke stuff, we would YouTube it, order it on our dealer website, and then fix all the trimmers and blowers and stuff. And then we slowly started doing stuff. And last winter, our old Toro, we ended up selling it this past spring, but we blew up
Was
the
that
engine
the
on
red
that too.
one?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
We blew up the engine on that this past fall. So we tore the whole thing down, put new pistons, new rings, everything. So
So you got
yeah.
it running again.
Yeah. Yep. We ran it, got it running this spring and sold it. And then, yeah.
So
hmm
were you able to, I guess, kind of start to finish, were you able to make any money on that?
We ended up when we bought it before COVID, I think it was like just north of 2000, mid 2000, somewhere in there. And we ended up trading it in for, I think, almost $3,000.
Oh, wow.
So we ended
Yeah.
up making money on the original purchase just with the skyrocket and equipment prices from when we bought it to nowadays. So,
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah.
hmm
And then and is that what you traded in for that bright yellow one that you have now?
Yep. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
Gotcha. So let's move up. There's a story that I've heard about you that I kind of asked you that I if I could ask you this.
Yeah.
That you had a friend at high school who asked if you would hire him, and you said no.
Yeah.
Can
So
you
I've
tell
had,
that story?
hmm yeah, I've had multiple buddies and like, I won't name names or anything, but kind of
Right,
just
right.
generalize. Yeah. I've had multiple buddies ask me that. And personally, when I first started, I was like, yeah, you come do this and this. And then, I mean, they would do it for one day, and then I'll be like, perfect, we can go get a slushie or whatever. But as I've kind of matured and we've really taken it kind of like hardcore now, I was kind of always the one. They were always like, "Oh, you're just wasting time doing all this stuff. Like, you're not gonna make it work." And then I think it's funny that 3 years later, they're asking me when they get to high school and they find out they need a job, "Can we come work for you?"
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, I mean, personally, if I knowing them for as long as I do and kind of knowing the backgrounds, it's kind of hard for me to hire someone who I know isn't gonna take as much love and pride into the outcome of the job as what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And so knowing how they do with school and then comparing that to business, I'm like, yeah, until you get this and this fixed, I don't think that's going to be an option. So,
Mm. So you were in high school
hmm
observing what these guys were doing as far as their schoolwork, maybe their personal lives,
hmm
whatever, and you were
yep,
assessing that as a business owner, like,
hmm
these are my friends at school, but I'm looking at what they're doing, and they're going to bring that mindset, that attitude to my business. Is
yep,
that kind of how you were assessing that?
yeah, hmm
So I want you to do this right now. We have, or my YouTube channel does have some younger viewers that are still in the same high school that you graduated from. They're
hmm
friends with my daughter, and it's kind of this weird thing where they'll ask me questions and I'll make a video about it sometime. So, hey guys,
hmm
what would you say to them now that they're still in high school? So, what would you say to them about the importance of what they do now compared to what that could turn into later?
hmm Really just overall importance of how you carry yourself. I feel like, um, just always staying level-headed, humble. Even if you're like standout athlete or standout this or super good at this subject, kind of keeping it to yourself and not really sharing it with others. Because I feel like as soon as you start getting a little bit too confident is when something goes wrong. And then everyone who looked at you as too confident is looking at you as you're stupid for saying all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I always looked at it is, yeah, I mean, I know I'm doing, I mean, everyone says I do decent. To me, it's nowhere close to where I want to be. But
We'll get
I've
into
always just kind
that.
of
We'll
looked
get
at
into
it
that
as,
in a
yeah,
minute.
yeah,
All
I've
right.
always just kind of looked at it as staying calm and slowly going along. So,
That's excellent. That's excellent
hmm
advice. So let me ask you one more question about high school. You were an athlete in high school, correct? What sports did you play?
yeah, so I played baseball all 4 years and then I played football until I was a junior. So,
Okay. So
hmm
talk to me about how did you balance you're a high school student, so I know you've got
hmm
homework and projects and stuff like that. Then you've got baseball practice, which that's spring. Then you've got
hmm
football, which is fall. So you're involved in a sport probably 6 to 7 months a year. Plus you have a business, you have clients, did you
Yep.
have employees at that point as well?
Yeah, I had a couple buddies working with me. Hmm
Okay. So how did you balance that? I mean, you're what, 16, 17 years old, and you're balancing employees, a high school academic load, and a sports schedule. And your
hmm
buddies probably had sports schedules and stuff. So how, as a business owner, did you balance all of that stuff?
Yeah. So kind of lucky for me. I mean, my main two guys they both played baseball with me, in the spring, and then the fall they didn't do any sports, so they had kind of the fall off. But really, I mean, I would go to school or I would wake up before school, do all of like whatever needed to be done or talking to clients, emails. I would start that at like 6 o'clock in the morning, do that till 7 o'clock, and then go to school. And then when I could, I mean, at lunch, I would call clients, call places to get whatever supplies we needed for weekend projects or whatever, that kind of stuff. I mean, I would do stuff. sporadically throughout school. I mean, I wouldn't recommend focusing business over so many classes, but I did it. I'll admit it. Would sit in class and send invoices and stuff, but
I love
teachers would
that.
walk
I
by and be
love that
like,
you did that.
yeah. hmm Teachers would walk by and be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I got to get this sent out before pay because it's the end of the month billing." So,
That's great. Were you involved in any of the business classes at the high school?
yeah, I took, I think a class each year I was in high school. I took a
Oh,
business class.
did those
hmm
classes help you in your practical application of your business?
Yeah, I really enjoyed them. I mean, I took, I think it was, I took marketing, I know, entrepreneurship, and then there's two other ones. I can't think of the correct name off the top of my head, but kind of just sitting there comparing like how they explained it there.
Hmm.
And then when we would have to do projects, I would personally always do them on the company. So like when we'd have to make advertisement, I would make it for the company for like if it was September and we had to make an advertised project, I would make them for fall cleanups and then submit that. And personally, it kind of helped me stay engaged just because I wasn't the biggest fan of school. But by doing those kinds of classes, it kind of helped me stay engaged and
Yes.
learn
Yeah.
both business and be able to benefit from it. So,
Yeah. So,
mhm,
I don't know if I mentioned this to you when we talked off camera before, but I was early on an educator as well. So I taught sixth grade, and I know your family's full of teachers.
mhm,
And then I moved into administration. I was assistant principal for probably most of my educational career. And one of the things that I saw in education was obviously, there's a big push for college, go to college, get an education, do these
mhm,
things. And then, kind of towards the end of that career, I remember specifically I had made a contact with somebody from Anderson Windows, and they said, we are starving for people in the trades, like absolutely
mhm,
starving for people in the trades. If you could get us a high school graduate who even doesn't know how to swing a hammer or use a saw, but is just willing to learn, we can teach them a trade and have them making, 50 grand a year within 3 or 4 months of graduating high school.
yep,
And that kind of goes against the flow. I mean, a lot of people say,
mhm,
go to college. But in my estimation, there are a lot of people who just aren't college people, not because they're not
mhm,
smart enough to do it, but it's just not their world.
yeah,
It sounds like you would kind of agree with that.
mhm.
So
Yeah, I was the one that could really never sit still enough in school for 6 hours a day. I'd want to be doing something. So,
yeah, yeah. So
mhm,
I know that, kind of on the flip side of that, you're in college right now.
yep,
So you're still balancing a school workload and a practical workload and
mhm,
employees, and now you've got all the stuff that you're doing.
mhm.
What is your intent with college right now?
Right now, I'm going for a business administration degree. Just a 2 year or 2 year or local community college, Grand Rapids Community College. And really, I didn't have any interest until August when it came along and they said, "Oh, college is free." Ended up not being free. Still, it cost me like $1,000 whatever because I'm not in the county or whatever. But
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. Just kind of thinking down the road. I know if I don't, or I knew if I didn't go this fall, there'd never be a chance he would get me back into school. Like that'd
Mm,
be next level impossible. But thinking long term for the company, not knowing exactly kind of what we want to do, if we want to go more towards the excavation or kind of the bigger landscape stuff, if that could be helpful, kind of just meeting with higher level clients and higher kind of demographics of people and stuff, if that could be a benefit. So, uh, like you said, both my parents being teachers, I was always pushed in education too. So I actually came out of high school with a half year of college done already. So really, it's only this fall and then next year, and then I'll have my associates in business,
excellent.
and then I'll
What
be able to.
program were you using to do those college classes early?
Through Jenison, actually, they do the dual enrollment.
Ah,
So
okay.
I looked at it last year actually as when I asked them about it, they gave me 2 hours of school off for each class for one college class. And so I would do all my work on the weekends go to school at noon and then go work from noon to 8 and still be able to work my 40 hours in high school. So,
That's crazy. That's crazy.
mhm,
So this is every time you say something, it brings up another idea in my head. So let's talk about time management because you were
mhm,
talking about how you would wake up at 6 a.m. and then jump on the computer for invoices and emails and then use your lunchtime at high school, which I know is only 30 minutes,
mhm.
to do more invoices and place orders and stuff like that. How important was it for you to have a structured routine to your day?
Yeah, I mean, really just not like it became really important. But it really was just the same thing after a while over and over. I kind of had to know, like, if I don't prioritize this, the long-term effect is it's just going to start snowballing into this is going to be delayed and this is going to be delayed, and then it's not going to turn out good. So I knew just kind of having to stay up on that structure of doing this from this time, going to focus on this at school, going to do this after school, get this job done by this date, and then it would kind of keep the ball rolling.
So
So,
what was the conversation with your parents like? Because, I know your dad is actually was my youngest daughter's teacher last year, so I got to know your dad
hmm
pretty good. Um, what was the dynamic like when they see you juggling football and baseball and sending, emails at 6:30 in the morning and then going to school and sending invoices at lunch? And were they
hmm
supportive of all the work that you were doing, or were they like, "Hey, Nolan, relax a little bit. You're 16. Go have some fun."
Yeah, I would say a good 50-50 mix. There always have been super supportive of just kind of the overall idea of business and work put into it. But they also were kind of like both of them being teachers, their biggest thing was making sure I kept the grades good, kind of stayed in school and wasn't skipping classes to do whatever. But
Right.
yeah, no, they were always super supportive, but also tried to remind me of being, you only get to be a teenager once. So have some fun with that too. So,
Yeah. Did you ever have to make a hard decision between, like, I'll just throw something out, like a homecoming football game versus, oh man, I promised the Smiths I was going to get their fall cleanup done. I've got to go do that. Did you ever have any instances like that?
I wouldn't say like major anything. I was like no, nothing with homecoming or any kind of that stuff, but there was plenty of nights where I mean friends would be like, "Hey, come hang out," and I'd be like, "Nope, sorry, I got lawns to cut or cleanups to do or bushes to trim or something to do." So, hmm
What was your what was your train of thought and mindset when you were going through those decisions? Were you like, "Oh man, this sucks. I want to go hang out with my buddies, but I got to go cut this grass because I said I was going to cut this grass"? Or were you like, "No, I'm going to go cut this grass. You guys can hang out later. You're not doing anything."
hmm Yeah, no, I mean, it personally never really fazed me. I mean, I love working just as much as I do hanging out with buddies. I mean, it's really work to me isn't really work just because of how much I love doing what I do. I
Mm.
mean, I would sit in school all day and just think, oh, I get to go cut grass after this. I just want to get out of here. Uh, but yeah, no,
Nolan,
I
there's
never
going to
really
be
looked
some
at it
people
as
watching
that.
this right now, and they're going to be like, I cannot believe there's a human being that loves cutting grass.
Uh-huh.
That's crazy.
Oh, I've
Well,
heard that ever since I was little from my parents. They're
yeah,
like, you still love doing it? And I'm like, yep.
yeah, yeah. So let's kind of transition into what you're thinking about for the future. So you're in college now and you're
hmm
getting a business degree or working towards a business degree. What are your future plans for Merritt Lawns and Landscaping?
Yeah, so kind of right now, this year, it's kind of just, I would say almost a filler year just because I started the season in high school, which kind of really limited me on amount of work I could take on just because I would go to school at, like I said, noon, 1 o'clock, and then I had baseball all spring. So I had from noon to 3 o'clock when I had practice, and then 6 o'clock when I got out of practice till 9 o'clock at night to go and do work 5 days a week. And then Saturdays we'd work all day. But when I scrunched all that together, the summer kind of only let out about 3 days, 4 days of work consistently.
Hmm.
So next year, the goal really is to go probably at least 40 hours a week each week. kind of more focused on our best kind of interest is full service customers. So we do kind of just the full maintenance at their property and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of what I want to grow into is that. And then, yeah, just
So
maintain college with that and yeah, go from there.
okay. So from a
Hmm.
business point of view, you're, and I'm kind of reading in between the lines a little bit. So if I'm off base, say, no, that's not what I'm planning on doing. But it
Yep.
sounds like you're taking this year to kind of just establish yourself, do the work, I guess maybe put some cash in the bank and just kind of do the
Hmm.
job so that you can then get to the next level when you're ready to go to the next level. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah, this year we've kind of really just narrowed in on like, look, we know we have the time, we know we have the extra time, and then always going just kind of above and beyond and making sure every job we do is to perfection pretty much.
Yeah.
Just to
Yeah.
kind of, if anybody hears the name, we don't want to hear, oh, they missed this or they did this. And then also, yeah, kind of, I've worked with some companies, local companies, kind of just as a step back as an employee, which has been nice sometimes just to
Hmm.
be able to show up and work, but just kind of trying to be an employee and helping them because they're good buddies of mine, but also learning like, hey, what are their guys saying about this? How do they deal with this?
Hmm.
And then, yeah.
So let's get into that a little bit. I know I wanted to talk to you
Hmm.
about that because there would be times after you got your truck where there's another company that cuts in my neighborhood, which we won't
Yep.
mention their name because they're not Merritt Lawn and Landscaping.
Oh, they
But
won't care.
yeah, but I would see you stop and talk with them, so I knew that you were friendly
Hmm.
with them and knew them in some way, shape, or
Hmm.
form. And then um, just a couple weeks ago, I saw them pull up because they cut my neighbor's lawn
Hmm.
and I saw you go over there because you were cutting another of my neighbor's lawn. And then after you were done cutting the lawn that you were doing, you went over and started helping them cut the lawns that they were working on. And I was
Hmm.
like, that's weird. Like he's
Hmm.
taking his time, and then you did it again yesterday. So I know it wasn't a fluke. And yesterday you
Yeah.
used your blower, you used your mower, you used your trimmer, and
Hmm.
your gas for all of that as well. So
Yeah.
what's going on with that?
Yeah. So
Why would you do
actually,
something nice, Nolan?
I'm just a nice, I mean, I try to be as nice as I can to people in general. Um, I don't know, that's just who I am kind of. But yeah, so actually going back, the owner of that company I met when I was, like you said, pulling that little trailer through the neighborhoods.
Hmm.
Um, there was literally the same thing. It was down the road and it was like 8:30 at night. And I just saw the cool equipment and was like, hey, do you want some help? And that was when, oh, I think I was like 11, 12, something like that. And that was when he was solo. And
Mm,
we kind of have similar stories. He went to Jenison, graduated in 2011, I think, and then kind of went out of high school, kind of like what I'm hoping to do,
hmm
and has grown it into what it is today. But yeah, ever since then, we've kind of had a connection. And then, yeah, I mean, really, it's become we're two separate companies, but I kind of look at it as one big one. Like when they get full, they send me stuff. We kind of just work together on what needs to be done. And yeah, as they've gotten bigger, I mean, they've had a couple, I mean, just some odds and then fluke things with employees or whatever. And then, yeah, just kind of knowing I have that, like the relationship between us is pretty strong. Like I can call him up and be like, hey, never done this work. Don't know what I'm doing with it. What should I know? What should I charge? And he'll be like, look, you need to charge this, this. And so it's kind of really just turned into a relationship between me and him of something that's more than if I can give 30 minutes to help his guys catch up
mm.
to keep that value of the relationship, it's worth it to me.
So
So,
that makes a ton more sense to me. So it sounds
hmm.
like he's kind of been a business mentor and coach for you over the years.
Yeah. Yep.
And it seems
Hmm.
like from what you're saying, he's pretty free with the stuff that he doesn't like charge you anything like that.
Nope.
He's just like, yeah, here, Nolan, here's some advice. Here's how you do this, and
Hmm.
you appreciated that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and knowing kind of he runs kind of a similar tight ship as I do, like he's super picky and stuff, which is kind of when the first day I worked there, some of the guys were like, oh, it's never fun or whatever. And then I was like, I'm still gonna try it because like he's never done anything wrong to me or anything.
Hmm.
And kind of as I've learned, the tight ship is kind of what's got after like a lot of conversations with us too, has kind of gotten him where he's gotten it. And it's something I've really tried to incorporate early as a versus kind of like you said, it kind of took a couple of years, and then when you got mix of employees from before and
Hmm.
after, trying to get that culture of togetherness of
So
mix.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah.
that's a really good thought. So
Hmm.
how do you implement that in your company? What is that? What
Hmm.
does running a tight ship look like at Merritt Lawn and Landscaping?
Yeah. So, well, like I said, starting solo, I mean, my customers, most of the customers we've done, I originally started doing by myself, and then slowly we've got guys working with us and stuff. But when I take them in, I'm like, look, it's gonna be, I'm not gonna like eat you alive and make you fix every little mistake because it's a learning curve. Everything you gotta learn. Like I didn't get perfect with mowing these things overnight. Like now, 10 years later, I could probably mow half of them in my sleep, I feel like. But yeah, just knowing like where I started and how I did things when I was like learning, but also holding to a standard. Like, yeah, if you like say like we miss a tree or whatever, I'll be nice and be like, hey, you forgot this tree, you want to hit that quick. But if it turns into like 2 weeks in a row or 3 weeks in a row, or just kind of like careless mistakes of like sometimes the trim line gets short and you got to bump the head,
Hmm.
and then you can see where they bump the head in the grass and it scalps it. And then, I mean,
Hmm.
most people wouldn't care, but kind of little things like that. I'm super big on the little details. I kind of feel that's what pulls it together because everyone really in the industry can lay the line like stripes and cut the grass. But really, what I've found that's kind of separated us and what I've really learned from him too is the little details is really what matters most.
Mm. Yeah.
And doing that consistently week after week, not just, oh, this week I feel like doing it. This week we're going to take it easy.
Right, right. So
Hmm.
as the owner of the business,
Hmm.
you are leading, I guess at your biggest, how many employees do you have?
At the biggest, we got 3 employees and me.
Okay. All right. So
Hmm.
how do you, and these are probably buddies of yours, right?
Yeah, two buddies and then my sister. So,
So, that's probably an interesting dynamic because these are guys that you went to high school with, you hang out with them,
hmm.
but then you have to put on your boss hat at some point,
Hmm.
correct?
Yeah.
And do they, I guess I don't want to ask about how they handle it. How do you handle it,
Hmm.
taking off the friend hat and putting on the boss hat?
Yeah,
What do you have to do in your mind to make that jump?
hmm, for sure. No, they kind of started work with me, I think like 4 years ago, 3, 4 years ago, kind of when we became freshmen in high school. And in the beginning, it was kind of rough just because like that was my first really time ever having to like switch between those hats, like you said. And we would like joke around and screw around, and then finally, as time's gone on, I've kind of gotten more serious. And they kind of know now, like when we're working, we need to be serious. We can't be doing stupid things that we would do when we're not working. And yeah, I'm also like, look, you got these company shirts on and all this other stuff. Names on the truck. If we do one stupid thing and it takes one person watching, that could lead to losing the lawn or losing a job or
Mm.
whatever. So,
Have you ever
and they
had to
know
have one of
too.
those conversations?
Luckily for me, not really. I mean, when we first started, it was kind of, we were just hanging out, cutting grass. And then they've
Hmm.
kind of, luckily for me, they've kind of gotten the grasp of when it's work, it's work. When it's time to have fun, we have fun.
Hmm.
Um, with other employees, yes, I've had to be like, look, like we can't be screwing around and looking stupid out here. Like I need you to take it serious a little bit. Like I
Yeah.
know I'm only 18 and or 19 now. And I'm your boss, but like as silly as that may sound, we still need to take it serious because at the end of the day, we're all viewed as one big company. So,
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. Your reputation, you said that
hmm,
the company name is on the truck, it's on your shirts.
hmm,
So if you're doing something crazy or silly, then that kind of
hmm,
goes along. There's that company that cuts in my neighborhood that we were just talking about.
Hmm.
They had somebody on their crew. I want to say it was two, nah, maybe 3 or 4 years ago now. And when he would cut lawns, he would put earbuds in, and then his ear protection over top of that, and he would sing and dance on his mower as he's cutting. He'd be like, doing all this stuff going through a lawn. I thought it was hysterical. So like when they would cut our neighbor's lawn, I'd go out on the deck and just watch them. Or sometimes like I'd be pulling out of my driveway and he'd be singing or whatever, and I'd just smile and
Hmm.
point at him. And I thought it was hysterical because that's my personality. And I'm like, that's funny. I don't care who you are. That's
Hmm.
funny.
Yeah.
But like thinking as a business owner, yeah, maybe you don't want that because then
Yeah.
maybe your clients won't take you seriously.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of like you. Like, I would personally probably laugh at that too. But then there's always just kind of, as the owner, in the back of my mind, like maybe that neighbor isn't like that and thinks you look really stupid doing that.
Hmm.
And so, kind of big picture, I've kind of had to scale back what I think and kind of take in all perspectives, really, just to kind of get that grip on kind of how to deal with those situations. So,
Yeah. Have you ever had an unhappy client?
um, we've had like odds and end things. Like sometimes there's been times where we've come just odd. I mean, really not anything too deep. I mean, we've had a couple neighbors that's been mad at us over property lines, or
Mm.
it was 8 o'clock. We've had a couple interactions with all the guys know. They love it. They're like, we're gonna go to this lawn at 8 o'clock. I'm like, no, you're not going to that lawn at 8 o'clock. For them, it's like a competition, but I'm like, no,
Right.
we're not doing that.
Yeah.
But really, no. I mean, just the normal things like they'll miss a light pole or whatever, miss a
Mm.
mailbox trimming, but nothing
So
too
how
big
do you
or
as the business owner then have that conversation with the client? Because I'm guessing you might get a phone call or an email that says, "Hey, you missed something over here." What
hmm.
is your business owner response for that?
Yeah, so I always try to be super oriented on like customer service, and I always shoot them a text or call them right away and say, "I'm super sorry we missed that." Usually if it's a big thing, like we've had times where like they'll miss like sometimes in tree lines they'll miss piles of leaves or whatever and doing fall cleanups. And I'll be like, look,
Mm.
I'm sorry for that. We'll take $25 off your price or whatever for the inconvenience. We'll deal with stuff like that. Or if it's small, like miss a light pole, I'll be like, yeah, I'll swing by as soon as we're done with mowing today, hit it, blow it off, and make sure it's all taken care of by tonight at the latest. So
Yeah.
we always try to fix things the same day if we can and not let things go more than 12 hours for sure without a response. So,
So it seems like you have kind of a system in your head of, and maybe this goes back to when you were in high school, where you
hmm.
had to, get up at a certain time, you had to respond to emails and, make
Hmm.
orders for your equipment and that sort of thing, where you were very, I guess maybe the word would be regimented with your time. You
Hmm.
had a structure, you had a schedule, and then you have, it sounds like kind of because, this is your industry that you've been in for, gosh, probably what, half your life now, right?
Yeah,
About,
about.
yeah,
Hmm.
that's kind of crazy. Where all right, when I'm done doing Mr. Smith's lawn over here, one of my guys missed this light pole, and that's 10-minute drive from here. I can zip over there, do that. Do you kind of just all calculate that in your head, or do you have to, map it out and schedule it out?
No, I mean, really, I've kind of just been able to, I don't know how much longer, but I kind of just, I'm always thinking of things like, oh, we need to fix this, this, this. And usually I can remember it pretty good. Otherwise we'll throw it in. We have like it's called the CRM, the customer relationship
Hmm.
management program we use. It's called Yardbook. It's an online thing we've kind of been turned on to. It's free. But that's where they kind of run their routes based off of and everything. And if it's like a thing, I'm like, oh, I need to do this tomorrow. I know I won't remember what I need to do tomorrow, so I'll throw it in there. And yeah,
And then all of
I
your
just,
guys can
yeah,
see that and then see what's on the
yeah,
schedule for the day. Is that how that works?
yeah. You just assign it to them and they can kind of see what they have to do. And then I'll be like, look, tomorrow you need to go to this place or this neighbor called. And it's super nice because if a neighbor calls me and I know they're going to be in that neighborhood that afternoon, I can quick add it, put the address, put everything, and they can click on it and it'll bring them right to their house on Google Maps. And
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. So it's a
hmm
fully integrated system then.
Yeah. Yep.
Very cool. So just
hmm
when you say, they'll go do that, do you now have multiple trailers and trucks?
No, it's mostly me. I take care of most of the stuff with mowing and stuff, but my sisters in the summertime and periodically now as they're back in school, they do a lot of our maintenance, the weeding, the shrub trimming, kind of odds and end little fix things. Um, yeah, so that's mostly with our maintenance and that kind of stuff. So,
All right. So
hmm
let's look at the next, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years. I know in your business classes in school, they're going to be talking about a business plan and a 5 year plan and a 10 year plan and all
hmm
that. And I don't need to get into all the weeds of that, but what would you like to grow? I mean, if you could, write the check yourself and,
hmm
just turn Merritt Lawn and Landscaping into whatever it is you wanted to turn it into, maybe have cyber mowers from Elon Musk that would, I've actually seen those. Have you seen those?
It's a
Those,
real thing. Yeah.
yeah, those are crazy. What would
hmm
you like to see Merritt Lawn and Landscaping be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years?
hmm For sure. Personally, I would like to grow it to probably right around maybe hardscaping crew, which is kind of like the fancy paver patios, retaining walls, that kind of stuff. Have one of those, landscaping crew, and then mowing or two mowing crews. Just kind of, we always view mowing and this kind of work as kind of the pay the bill money.
Mm,
It's always consistent versus the landscaping is always up and down depending on the seasons and stuff. So I do want to stay in the mowing game and kind of still take on all that stuff, but then grow into that kind of stuff. And then, yeah, depending on there, I know I really have enjoyed as we've grown, kind of more of the landscaping side of it. Just the cool designs you can make with all the
hmm
paver patios and whatever brick and whatever plants and stuff. It's always something different and something that I can always sit there and think about.
hmm
Um, but yeah, no, that's definitely something that would be kind of 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Kind of want to keep it small though. I don't want to get huge. I know a lot of local companies that have gone that route, and then 10 years after they get to their 20 crews or 15 crews, you kind of see a decline in quality of service, and then eventually you see them start downsizing again
mm,
back into the smaller. And yeah, I really just want to focus on, like we said, little details that consistent name or image of the name and keeping it clean and detailed. And yeah,
yeah.
that's kind of what I want to focus on. So,
When you were talking about being a little boy and loving the construction crew, like I wondered if you were going to
hmm
be like, man, I want to get an excavator. I want to,
hmm
dig ditches and, get into the heavy equipment and start, planting trees. And I actually know a guy, I go to church with a guy who works at a competitor of yours, so to speak. And all he does is trees.
hmm
He's got one of these big giant spades that's attached to a semi truck and he
hmm
goes to the nursery, gets trees, plants them in people's yards, and that is his full-time job. And he is busy. He is busy
Yeah.
doing that.
hmm
So,
Yeah, no, excavation is something I've kind of always been on the edge about, kind of wanting to get in. It's just a super expensive industry to get into.
yeah,
And yeah,
because the equipment is so expensive. And then how do you pay
the
the bills for the equipment if the work isn't
uh-huh.
there? Yeah,
hmm
yeah,
And the
I see that.
trucking and all sorts of that stuff. So,
Yeah. So let me ask you, we're kind of winding down here to the end. I've gone through all my questions. This has been great. I've learned a lot from you. Um,
hmm
the the sign behind me over here, People First Coaching and Consulting, is a leadership company, and we talk a lot about leadership. What would you say is your leadership philosophy? And this may be a hard question for you to answer if you haven't really thought about it, but when you
hmm
think about leading people, leading employees, and obviously in the future you're going to grow because you're doing
hmm
fantastic work. Your employees are going to look to you as the leader of the business. Do you have a leadership philosophy? Is that something you've thought about?
Really, I feel like my best way of showing kind of our guys on how to do stuff is not just telling them, but showing them. Um, Being able to like go in there and explain word for word, knowing how I want it done has really been something that's been successful.
Mm,
Um, just being able to, because when you can tell them all you want, you can explain it, you can show them a million pictures, but all those little things that happen in between of turning it a half inch this way or moving that block that way, you never will find out unless you actually sit there and watch someone explain how they do it.
yeah.
Um, and that's kind of just how I found the best way of doing it is. I mean, you can ask my guys, they call me boss man perfection. Um, they're like, they know too. They're like, if we're gonna take a shortcut, you're not gonna be on the job.
You
But
should
yeah.
get a shirt just for you that says boss man
Hmm.
across the back. All right, let me
Hmm.
ask you a harder question that's related to that. Let's say you have one of the guys in your crew, presently or in the future, that is just consistently messing up, and you've talked to them a couple of different times. How do you approach that person? How do you approach that situation and handle that?
Hmm. For sure. I kind of look at it as I always personally, when if we have a situation like that, I take a step back and look at it as what am I teaching wrong, or what am I explaining wrong, or where could there be a mix up? I try to get their input of how they're interpreting it, and then turn that really just think on how they described it to me. If there's something that's not clicking in how I'm describing it, or if there's something that's could be described differently to make it click for them. Um, Kind of looking at it that way, and then slowly just kind of hopefully we can work it out. Worst case, you never really, I mean, you have to put the business first. The worst case, you have to maybe go your separate ways if they just
Mm,
can't seem to get it how you want it. But most of the time, I really have found out like by taking that step back and looking at how maybe they're interpreting it different than you. And sometimes it could be a way you never really thought of how to do it that way. And
yeah,
it just, that's how they understood it in their brain.
yeah,
Most of the time, I found out by doing that. Usually it clicks and then you can roll from there. So,
yeah. That's fantastic. That's great stuff.
hmm.
So I've kind of come to the end of my questions. Is there anything that you would like to share? One more question, because I could do this all night long, Nolan. Seriously, what's your total number of clients that you have?
Total number right now, we are at 18 mowing and a handful of just odds and ends. I don't know off the top of my head the exact number, but I know we have a ton that we just do kind of odds and ends shrub trimming for.
Mm.
We do a good amount of subcontracting this year for a buddy of mine. Um, and yeah,
So your business kind of fluctuates
yeah, it kind
because
of in the summer we
bushes
kind
only
of
need to
really,
be trimmed a couple times a year. So,
yeah, we kind of really ramp things up with the landscape side of things this summer. We're doing about 3 days of that and then finishing out the week mowing. But yeah, consistently it's been 2 days of mowing every week, and then yeah, odds and end landscaping stuff, and yeah,
okay.
and then
So,
if not, yeah. Hmm.
now that since we live in Michigan, the frozen North Tundra here, what do you do in the
Hmm.
wintertime when there's nothing to cut, nothing to trim, nothing to build?
Hmm. This winter I'll be plowing. That's kind of what I just kind of do. But really the winter, I take just kind of the focus on plans for the spring and really try to get an edge over competition.
Mm,
Just with anything and everything, getting equipment ready, really focusing on like kind of the back end of the stuff that not said don't focus on during the summer, but it's not really anything like I have time to sit at my desk and
right.
dive deep into profits and how that got to that profit and how that one's different. I think kind of just trying to get that stuff, the kinks in that area out. But yeah.
And probably give your body a break too, because like I see you. You
Hmm.
guys go hard out there, and you're
Hmm.
sweating, and I've known some landscapers who have been in your industry, and around if they've been doing it long enough, around 40 years old, they start having problems with their hands,
Hmm.
just from gripping the mowers and stuff for a long period of time. So, take care of yourself, Nolan. Don't kill yourself.
Yeah, I hear that all the time. Mom, dad are always on that, but
Yes, yes, because
hmm.
your parents love you and they don't want to see you. They don't want to put you in a
Hmm.
nursing home before they have to go.
Yeah.
Nolan,
No,
do you have a website or anything that we can put on the end of this video or in the description? Or I've already got your Instagram stuff. Is
hmm
there other social media platforms for you?
that's really it. Right now
Okay.
we're in the process of getting a website put together, but nothing official yet. So,
Okay. So
hmm
once this goes up on YouTube, I'll email you the video on YouTube, and then you can do whatever you want with it. And then I'm also going to do like a little notice on Instagram, so all of your friends and clients and customers who want to get to know you a little bit better, I think this
hmm
could be great if you could put this in your CRM and be like, hey, here's an in-depth video that I did. If you want to learn more
Yep.
about me, I'm a person,
Yeah.
not just a
hmm
machine cutting your grass every week.
Yeah.
So,
24/7.
all right. Fun questions before we go. Favorite color, favorite food. No, you
Mm.
can't say
Favorite.
green.
That was gonna be my answer. Uh,
Okay.
Probably blue would be my favorite color. Favorite food, I have to go with favorite main food would be meatloaf. Favorite desserts, apple crisp.
Oh, yeah, I am. Oh man, on my
hmm
birthday, I get apple pie. I don't get cake because I am, yeah,
hmm
apple crisp. All right. And one last question, just because I keep thinking of them. If I could write you a blank check for a vacation to go anywhere in the world and do anything that you wanted to do, where would you go and what would you do?
Mm, I don't know.
This is a
I'd
hard
probably,
question.
I would personally, I don't really look into vacations that much, but place kind of being an outdoors kind of person, I'd probably say Alaska. Just
Oh,
going fishing, hunting. Yeah.
do you fish and hunt? Is that something that you
Yeah.
guys currently
hmm
do? Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
I've always thought it'd be cool to go and see. I don't know if you've ever seen the show Deadliest Catch,
Yes.
but yeah, go and kind of see that area of Alaska. And yeah.
Well,
hmm
that's like in kind of the Bering Sea there. That's you don't really
Yeah.
see that.
Yeah. Just kind of the port area, all the where they offload and all that. I feel like it'd be kind of cool to see. So,
Yeah, yeah. There was a couple that I'm friends with. They just came back from Alaska and they went in the beginning of August and they showed me
hmm
pictures and I'm like, why are you in sweatshirts and coats on your entire vacation? And they said because it never got above 65 degrees. And I was like,
hmm
oh, okay, that's interesting. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if I could sleep up in Alaska because like certain times of the year it's light all day if you get
Yeah.
far enough north. And I
hmm
kind of gotta wrap up in my blankie and
Yeah. Get
sleep
all
in a,
nice and
yeah, it's got to be dark. If the street light
hmm
outside my house is too light, I got to roll over and look at the other wall.
hmm
Well, Nolan, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for letting some creepy guy in the neighborhood stalk you and and walk up to you. Because for the people who are watching this, I literally walked out of my front door, pointed at you while you were cutting my neighbor's lawn, and I was like, "Hey, I want to talk to you. Come over here." And you're probably like, "Oh, great, man! What did I do to this guy's grass?" And you were
No, you're
super
all
cool
good.
about it. You were super cool
hmm
about it. So. Nolan, thank you. If you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to put your social stuff on here so you can share it and all your friends can see it. And who knows, maybe this will blow up and then you can go buy an excavator.
Maybe
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
you get all these people from, I don't know. Maybe you'll have too many clients now that this is going to go on YouTube and be like, oh man, I want that kid cutting my grass. He's awesome. And
Well, then we
start
might have to
turning.
put one of your logos on the truck as like a little credit.
Oh, well, no. Know what I think you should do? Your logo needs to be bigger because I saw it on your truck and
Yeah.
it's in your window. And I was like, wait a minute. You can get
hmm
those big magnets, that'll
hmm
go on the side of your truck. But anyways, Nolan, thank you so much for your time. You're very gracious in setting this up. So thank you, and we'll see you in the neighborhood.
Yeah, for sure. Sounds good. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a great day, man.
All right, you too.